A slight deviation from my normal content, but let's check out Los Alamos, New Mexico together, the home of the creation of the atomic bomb under the Manhattan Project. Los Alamos is located in the mountains about 2 hours north of Albuquerque and 30 minutes from Santa Fe, the capital of New Mexico. We left in the morning, and since we were stopping in Santa Fe, wanted to have brunch there at one of our favorite local spots. For some, the drive might not be anything much, but I thoroughly enjoy the southwest landscape. Millies is a locally owned French restaurant we found a few years back. The owner is from France herself and opened shop close to the main plaza in Santa Fe. As you can see from the menu, there's a large variety of sweet and savory options, as well as delicious drinks to accompany any meal. We've tried a good amount of things on the menu and are definite fans of any pastry, the breakfast sandwiches, and of course the crepes. The coffee and hot chocolate are also very good. It would be dangerous if we lived closer. We got a few things, including the Monte Cristo, a fried ham and cheese sandwich, as well as the croque madame, another type of cheese and ham sandwich, as well as my favorite dessert, tiramisu. As you can tell, there are many more tasty treats to try that it's hard to know what to get. It's always usually fairly busy, but for good reason, as we've always had a great experience and happy stomachs after coming. Now on to the short half of the drive up to Los Alamos. But I drive a V8, so it wouldn't be a drive without having to fill up with gas. But at least there's always nice views, and the weather is pretty nice year-round here. This was my wife and I's first time visiting, and I can see why Robert Oppenheimer felt a close connection to Los Alamos, especially as you'll see here shortly. It's quiet, secluded, and with an open mind, a really beautiful place. Drives like this make me wish I had more chances to get out and enjoy nature. While researching places to check out in preparation for this trip, I found White Rock Overlook, about 15 minutes southeast of Los Alamos, that looked pretty cool. And man, was I grateful for Google Maps for the idea, because as you can see, the lookout is just steps away from the parking lot, to which you can see this breathtaking view in almost all directions of the surrounding area. Below, you can see the Rio Grande flowing, which makes its way through most of the state. We came in July of 2024, but honestly, with the amount of sunny skies we have year-round, I'm sure you could have these views many other times if you were to come. They do get a bit more snow given the altitude, but the views like this make it worth it. And with such a short walk to this place, it's great for little ones and folks with mobility concerns. Just don't walk too close to the edge. And it's free. Now to Los Alamos. On our way in was a replica of the main security gate that workers and visitors would enter first before having to trek another 2 hours to finally reach the actual site. This free site includes maps, pamphlets, and guides for other things to check out while in and near Los Alamos. We've been to Bandelier National Monument before, and if you don't mind climbing some ladders, it's worth the detour. If you want to hang out a while here too, there's also picnic tables and plenty of parking to enjoy. Fortunately, most of our sites of interest were within walking distance, so we parked for free at the Manhattan Project National Historic Park, which was a nice little park near the center of town and home of Ashley Pond. This pond was actually formerly used in summer and winter sporting events in the early 1900s. Fuller Lodge was first on the list. There was free entry to this multi-purpose building that was built in 1928 and is still used for various events today. As you enter, the presence of ponderosa pine on the walls and ceilings and some original features help bring you back in time. The building was used for lodging, dining, social events, dancing, education, and so much more. Most of the building is open to explore and includes signs to know the purpose of certain rooms or prominent persons who visited. During the Manhattan Project, the facilities provided hospitality to visiting scientists who made the long trek, usually by train, to support the project. Given the taxing effects of long hours and the high importance of the project, the building also hosted recreational enjoyments like plays, dances, and so forth to bolster the morale of men and women supporting the work at Los Alamos. Scenes from the Oppenheimer movie were also filmed using this building. Adjacent to the lodge is the Los Alamos History Museum. Admission is $5 for an unguided tour, or more if you would like a guide. Admission grants access to the Oppenheimer House, Hans Bethe House, the Romero Cabin, and other spots. The main exhibit is housed inside the main building, which is actually the oldest building still used in Los Alamos today. Here you'll learn about the history of Los Alamos with, of course, an emphasis on Oppenheimer and the Manhattan Project. There is plenty of reading material as well as videos and relics to learn about, so make sure to set aside some time. Interestingly enough, General Leslie Groves, the military leader played by Matt Damon in the Oppenheimer movie, thoroughly enjoyed staying at this building while at Los Alamos. Although not part of the museum, the house is along Bathtub Row, where the only house is lucky enough to be built with bathtubs during the war, giving the street its name. A short walk led us to the Oppenheimer house, which was closed when we went for renovation. Fortunately, you could still peek inside the windows to see what life would have been like for him and his family during 1943 to 45. Right next to the Oppenheimer house is the Hans Bethe house. Hans was the head of the theoretical division who contributed to the work of implosion and radiation propagation on the Manhattan Project. He was instrumental in ensuring the success of the Trinity Project, the actual test of the work done on the project that was performed some miles south of Los Alamos. He contributed to the development later of the hydrogen bomb and received the Nobel Prize for Physics. Walking back toward the main building, you'll find the Romero Cabin, which preceded the Manhattan Project. It was home to homesteaders Refugio and Victor Romero and their 6 kids, and gives insight into what life was like in Los Alamos just years prior. Unfortunately, the secret nature of the Manhattan Project would cause the Romeros to need to relocate in 1942. It looks like the lodge was hosting a wedding or another celebration when we were there. And just in front of the lodge is a statue of Robert Oppenheimer and Leslie Groves commemorating their joint effort on the Manhattan Project, making the success it was, despite the odds. We took a short walk through the town to our last stop, the Bradberry Science Museum, which was highly recommended by friends of mine that lived in Los Alamos. The museum is free to the public and run by the Los Alamos National Laboratory. After being to both museums, I would strongly recommend prioritizing this over the other, especially if you're fascinated by the Manhattan Project and like interactive exhibits. Plus, did I mention it was free? LANL, or Los Alamos National Laboratories, does an exceptional job here of showing many facets of the work done and passed by the lab, but also what is currently being done at the labs. This room is primarily about the Manhattan Project and its history. I found this interactive map that allows you to walk around what it would have been like in the 1940s and to experience Los Alamos. Here are different models of different components from the project and how they worked to ultimately make something that would change the entire world. This other main area goes over some fundamental scientific principles and experiments, like here, using magnets. And here, you have an entire craft room and kids room where you can also learn about radioactivity and how it still shows up in our world today. And here is more about the Fat Man and Little Boy, two different types of nuclear weapons used during World War II, and how they differed and how they were utilized. Whether you're a curious adult or need something to take the kiddos to do, this museum is a must and will definitely help you to appreciate the work done by Lannel in times past and currently to revolutionize our world in more ways than just our defense. It was a short few-hour trip, but well worth taking the time to get away for a day trip and learn more about the history that is so important to understanding where we've come from and where we are going. It's no surprise that Los Alamos' slogan is the City of Discoveries. There's still plenty more to see and of course eat, but for now this was it. The views and history of this town, in my opinion, make it special and worth the trip out. So whether you've come before or it's your first time, definitely try and schedule it. We had a great time and I'm sure you will too.